Hi, friends. We at GLC would like to take a quick moment to thank you for watching our programs on this platform, and we'd like to ask you for a little favor. Would you please go beneath this video and click the subscribe button? Did you know that by simply subscribing to the GLC YouTube channel, you can help us financially support the programs on this platform? You'll need to be signed into YouTube beforehand, but if not, simply click the subscribe button and YouTube will automatically walk you through the steps to sign in or to create an account. By taking these simple steps, you will not only ensure that you continue to receive our unique programming and gain instant access to the hundreds of videos we post, but more importantly, you'll also be telling YouTube that GLC's content is worth watching and promoting. Likewise, if you enjoyed a specific program, please click the thumbs up button below, which also helps inform YouTube that this is a program worth recommending. Finally, once you have logged in and subscribed, please click the notification bell below in order to receive announcements when we post new content. As usual, feel free to post your questions and comments in the comments section below. We always love hearing from our friends and viewers. Again, thank you for watching and supporting God's Learning Channel. We couldn't spread the message of the gospel without you. Be blessed, and we hope you enjoy the show. It's the founder of the Bible Block Party, international author, speaker, and someone I'm proud to call friend, Avi Lipkin. How you doing there, Avi?
Great to be back. Every Thursday with you is a highlight.
Hey, all right. Well, hey, you know what? It's a highlight to see you. So much happening in the world, so much sleight of hands with the mainstream media, attention being drawn, but it seems like a lot of people are waking up to the truths of how much they can truly rely on or not rely on the mainstream media, but coming right from the man himself, boots on the ground, live from Israel. What is the latest, Avi?
Well, we have a very strange situation. You know, they say many times as a woman is giving birth, the hardest part is just before giving the birth, when you have the contractions, and then there's a great relief after the birth, you know.
Right.
Usually. I never gave birth, so.
Theoretically.
we have this crazy guy who was a general in the Israeli army, and he came out today with a statement. He's leading an ultra-left political party in Israel, deep state if you want, and he's saying that Israeli soldiers killed Palestinian children as a hobby.
A general said this.
Yeah, and you know what? I think many times as people get older, they become senile and they don't realize it, and they're saying really stupid things. So the whole country is in an uproar. And meanwhile, certain very, very dangerous groups who are also deep state are trying to cause Israel to lose at the last moment, lose the war in Gaza. The Israeli army is closing in on all the neighborhoods in Gaza. This is something which can and should be over within 2 weeks. So we're waiting to see what happens with Gaza. I think once that's finished, they're saying next week the American food suppliers are coming in, you know, for the humanitarian aid. By then, the Hamas soldiers will be either killed or imprisoned, disarmed, and then we're going to have to see what we do. I think President Trump announced that he has an agreement with Libya to take in 1 million Gazans. So we're very hopeful that takes place. Then we're left with another 900,000. So we're looking for other countries. I think we will be able to do it. But we are at the climax of a war of aid in a year and 8 months with Gaza. And we're a small country. You know, our soldiers are being worn to the bone with all the military call-ups. But like I said before, praise God, we're towards the end of it. Lebanon, they don't want to talk too loudly, but Lebanon is interested in joining the Abraham Accords with the help of the U.S. and France and Israel. and they're saying that Israel has to come into Lebanon and finish the job of destroying the Hezbollah, which is backed by Iran. Syria has
What a mess. I mean, is there any recourse at all against this leftist general that obviously is speaking against his country, knowing very well that his rhetoric can cost Israeli lives?
it's treason. It's treason.
Of course, we have
And
treason here, and Chuck Schumer's still, flapping his jaws. He and their lot should be in prison right now. But of course, if you're conservative, you only get arrested if you're conservative, right? With the exception of this judge recently.
the Supreme Court is totally with the old treacherous people, and I don't know. I think that the head of our like FBI, the Israeli FBI, the GSS, General Security Services, he finally gave a date. In other words, he has to do us the favor of telling us what date he's going to allow himself to be fired, and that's the 15th of June. So we're less than a month away with that. We're hoping once he's gone, we get rid of the Attorney General, who's also a deep state. Then the Attorney General of the Army is deep state. You see, the problem is, soldiers are afraid to fire one bullet because they'll be taken to court for anything they do. So, and meanwhile, our soldiers the Arabs are taking pot shots at them on the battlefield. But like I said before, I think that within 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it'll be over. And finally, it's a drawn out victory, but it'll be a victory. Lebanon will be a victory. Syria has announced that they want to have Abraham Accord with Israel too. The problem is the price for that is that Israel should withdraw to the international borders, which means that all these ISIS organizations will come in and massacre the Druze, the Christians, and the Shiites.
They already are. They've been massacring Christians and others in Damascus.
So Israel has already said, we're ready to talk about anything, but don't count on us leaving Syria. So they don't say leaving Syria, they say leaving the buffer zone. Buffer zone is an area in which we have the Druze and we have some others, and we are not letting anybody come in to kill them. We have a problem with Turkey, but Erdogan, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, he seems to be giving the impression he's becoming like Biden, like he's losing it. He's becoming senile. But Turkey at this point could become a threat to Israel. Turkey is sending its Air Force to Egypt to train with the Egyptian Air Force to attack Israel. So we're watching things very carefully. The Houthis have announced today that they're starting a naval blockade on Haifa, which is kind of outrageous because they cannot do it. But we will be establishing a naval blockade on Yemen. They made a deal with Trump to stop shooting missiles at ships, maritime trade, but they're still firing missiles at Israel. So Israel is at war with Yemen also. We're fighting a war on 7 fronts. And of course, we have the Judea and Samaria command dealing every day with the Islamic terrorists who are Hamas. Everything's Hamas. So if you're an American and you know the history, you don't give humanitarian aid to the Nazis and to cities where the Nazis are in control. But that's what the world is demanding from Israel, to give humanitarian aid to Nazi Hamas organizations. So we're going to give them just enough humanitarian aid that we can continue the fighting and finish the fighting, and then transfer out the Gaza population.
I have a question. Does Netanyahu not have the power to fire these leftist generals and deep state heads as Trump is demonstrating?
Okay, the answer theoretically is yes. However, and this is a very big however, if you remember, we had this war on October 7th, which started, we were giving them money because we understood they were using the money to rebuild Gaza, build up a big country there. And they came and killed 2,000 of our people in one day. they raped, they pillaged, they chopped arms and legs off, they cooked children in microwaves. I mean, they're crazy, like really Nazi. But a year before that, there was a move to reform the Supreme Court. In other words, the situation today, I'm making things very simple for your viewers.
Yeah.
The Supreme Court in Israel is judge brings in judge. The judges bring in their friends and people who are ideologically the same. So what do you have? You have deep state. And there's no room for anyone who's not deep state. So Israel wanted to make some minor reforms to slightly try to level off the amount of judges who are deep state and bring in a few more conservatives. And a letter came out from the Air Force, not from the Air Force, from top commanders in the Air Force, especially retired commanders and war heroes and people from the left, saying that they would refuse to serve in any future wars if Netanyahu tried to do that. So the whole reform campaign was put on ice. And you have to remember, anything that happens in Israel, if the communist, socialist, and deep state people want to thwart it, they just threaten a strike in the Air Force. Because if the Air Force goes on strike, you don't have a military. So Netanyahu and the top people in the Likud party decided to hold off, to wait with the reform. And then after October 7th and the crazy, crazy failures of Ronen Bar of the GSS, I mean, can you imagine? He knew at 11 o'clock at night, but he did not tell Netanyahu, even until 6:30 in the morning, that Gaza was going to attack with 6,000 terrorists. This is treason.
He should hang for that.
He should hang for that. But you can't touch him because if the courts don't convict him, he's free. So Netanyahu has been waiting. The chief of staff was also deep state. The chief of staff, Herzi Halevi, was basically dragging his feet, was getting orders from Netanyahu to do this and do that, and he just wouldn't do it. He would not take orders from the prime minister. Then the attorney general, then the attorney general of the army, all deep state appointees. You can't touch them. You know the American slang, it's like fighting City Hall. We're facing a don't fight City Hall situation here. So finally what happened was the general in intelligence who failed in his job, and then the chief of staff, these two retired. Ronen Bar is retiring in 4 weeks. We're like nutcrackers now. We're cracking the nuts one by one. And I think the people in Israel, the left, are beginning to understand how wrong they were. But for example, today you have this retired general who leads the Meretz party saying that Israeli soldiers are genocidal. Well, that's exactly what the International Court in Holland wants. An Israeli general who will betray the country and say things that he should be shot for. But he's not going to be shot because the Supreme Court is with him. So we have a very sick situation in the country. You know, I have to tell you, once, you know my story about the Prime Minister's office, that I was fired because of my Likud views.
Yes, yes.
And we know your views, you're fired. Okay. And I went to complain to the Prime Minister's Director General, and he said to me that once, but this is completely crazy, Netanyahu and Ehud Olmert, like 30 years ago, went to a Beitar soccer game. Now, Beitar, if you're from Texas, Beitar is like Texas Rangers.
Okay.
And a soccer team, you know. And so Ehud Olmert and Netanyahu were both standing and cheering with their arms in the air. And you could hear the people in the background cheering, and they were cheering with the people. And somebody from the TV dubbed it with "Kill the Arabs, kill the Arabs, kill the Arabs." So they got fired. They fired the guy. So the Histadrut, which is a communist socialist organization, said if you don't rehire him, we're going to shut down the country. I mean, you don't understand the depth of the power of these people. And so Netanyahu is very wise. He's doing things very slowly, very meticulously. And like with Trump, we fear a death sentence for Netanyahu. They're trying to kill him. They're trying to kill Trump. They're trying to kill even the president of Argentina, who's pro-Trump and pro-Israel, Milei. So I'm just saying, anything could happen at any time in any country. You're asking boots on the ground. I'm telling you, the 70% of our young people serve in the army and they're right wing. We heard, for example, everyone's yelling at the ultra-Orthodox because 70,000 ultra-Orthodox refuse to serve in the army because the rabbis don't tell them. Well, I think the rabbis should be put in jail for that. But then we got another figure yesterday that 100,000 ultra-left-wing atheists in Tel Aviv who go to the coffee shop got letters from their psychiatrist in order to get exemption from the army.
Well, that's typical. They're cowards.
It's not just cowards. They're against Netanyahu. They're against the right-wing government. So you have 170,000 who refuse to fight, and then you have 300,000 Israelis who are doing all the fighting.
It sounds like Israel needs the same thing that America needs.
Yeah.
Regulators. Deputized regulators. Wyatt Earp knew how to handle, corruption in his day. And he handled it swiftly. And I just keep praying that President Trump will deputize regulators. We won't have repeat offenders. We won't have a lot of things over here. If we can revert back to the old West, I think sometimes we're going to anyway. And
a lot of these terrorists who are coming in from Venezuela and other cartels, these people have to be caught, and they either have to be put in jail or sent back to the countries from which they came.
Well, any other country would reserve the right, but you have what's in common with the cancer of humanity is leftism all over the world.
Right.
Same playbook. You victimize the evil, and you villainize the victim. It's all so backwards. But as time goes on, though, what's curious is population-wise, it seems like the world is producing more common sense voters and more traditional values in this newest generation than the lunacy we have seen, in recent decades. But my gosh, I really think it's going to come down to that. And because we have leaders in America that are thwarting justice. My gosh, who got a hold of our Supreme Court? You know what I mean? When an MS-13 person is valued more than a citizen or a child or a woman, that's what the Second Amendment is for. And
illegals coming into the States have more benefits, more money, more help than the benefits from the army who are living in the streets.
And we were reporting that, but no. Well, turns out I was right, huh, folks? It wasn't just me. Yeah, you had Catholic charities getting paid billions by the Biden administration, picking up illegals and taking them to any city they wanted, subverting our legal process. You had $1,000 UN cards given to these people at the border, which, by the way, a whole bunch of fat people, well-dressed with new phones and backpacks at your border, they didn't travel across any country. They were bussed in. And the Democrats were a part of it. They advertise in other countries, come here, we'll take care of you, because they want to change the electoral vote. Plain and simple.
I told you what happened with I have a group of 3 ladies. I call them the 3 Musketeers. They're in Joplin, Missouri. And 3 of them were married to truckers. One of them was owner of a trucking company. And I don't know if you know interstate, what's the interstate that goes to 40, 44, not 44.
Yeah,
That's 40.
I-44 goes. That's one
No,
of
it goes northeast. Which one is that?
Yeah, yeah. That should be 44. Uh-huh.
44.
Mhm.
So at mile marker number 4, there are 4 tremendous truck gas stations on each corner. And the 3 ladies said to me, Avi, this is crazy. We go there every day because of our truckers, and there are buses there full of Arabs. And they're trucked up from, they're brought up by bus from the Mexican border. And from there, they have a stop. And then from there, they go to the northern states and drop off these illegal Mexicans in the north, Latinos or whatever, or Arabs or whoever. All these illegals are being brought in from Mexico straight to Joplin, and then from Joplin up to
Right.
the
St.
Michigan,
Louis.
St. Louis. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I had an eyewitness. Obama was busing in 1,200 Somali Muslims every night during his administration. Well,
Right.
for the first 2, the third one we had the puppet Biden, who suddenly has stage 9. Hey, I don't wish anybody bad health, but there's no suddenly stage 9 anything. And
I have to tell you, my
it's a
dad
moot point. People knew. We all knew.
had that type of cancer. Which one is it? Prostate.
Prostate cancer, yeah.
80%, 90% of prostate cancer is healed if you catch it in time. So probably this thing was neglected and everyone remained silent, and it grew and it grew and it grew till it got to the 4th stage.
Well, that's the usual thing, but the physicals of him being in perfect health, did they just miss that? I mean, did they not do any blood work? A simple blood test would reveal prostate cancer.
Do you remember when we were in high school or in elementary school, accidentally on purpose? The teacher would say, "Why did you do that?" Accidentally on purpose.
Accidentally on purpose. Oh my gosh. Well, you know what? It's just such a show, and I'll be kind and my prefix on that, but what a sham, what a show. Money is a revealer, and the love of money is a revealer. If you're generous, you'll be more generous. If you're crooked or shady, you'll be more shady. And all someone has to do, I posted a meme the other day. Evil creates dependency, so that when evil is enforced, you just merely bribe the peasants you created.
Right.
And that's why a democracy that Fox News even loves to say, we don't have a democracy. We have a republic. Democracy is, if the group is big enough, they can take everything you got and do whatever they want. Mob rule. Republic is a different story. You have rights, and we have a constitution that even our Supreme Court doesn't seem interested in upholding anymore. So, what a mess. But people need to come together. They need to come together. Over here in America, you need to come together. We the People Townsquare.com. Dan Rogers interviewed you, and that's a movement now. And of course, the Bible Block Party. You need the link up with Avi Lipkin. So, Avi, any idea when we may see you over here?
Well, my son Yaakov, Aaron, but
Oh yeah.
my other son is a very senior bank manager, not in a branch. He's in charge of the computer, so he's a very important guy in the bank. And until he gets dates to be able to travel, it's like mission impossible. So he got from the 10th to the 21st of June. And, I have to move my books from 2 different storage areas over to Bentonville, Arkansas. And so he says, I want to help you. But the truth is, my Christian friends have enough boys, and men to move the boxes and drive everything up to Bentonville. But so my son every day says, are we getting tickets or not? I said, I don't know. We may have a war with Iran at any moment. And we may have a war here, and we may have a war there. And even though the United States is totally with us, things are so totally unpredictable in the Middle East.
So is the concern that if war breaks out and you're over here, that you're not able to return?
And that's also true. Listen, I'm very comfortable staying in the States for a few months if a war does break out and I cannot get back. But that's not the point. The point is that, I'm leaving my wife here, and we have 100,000 terrorists living around us. And Israel is a country where Jews are forbidden to go here, forbidden to go there, but Muslims can go anywhere they want. So the terrorists can go anywhere they want. And so I want to be sure that the thing with Iran is over, Gaza is over, all these wars that could make trouble for me being abroad, it'll be over. I want to go to the States for 2, 3 months. I have a lot of, there are like 30, 40 churches just waiting for me. I just have to say I'm coming and that's it. So
We're ready to see you.
Anyway, I would say at this time, my son and I are planning to be in Texas from June the 10th to the 21st.
Okay.
He may come back to Israel. I may stay in Texas some more time.
Let's get you on set.
Yeah. Just don't get me upset.
I remember that. When it comes to Avi, it's okay to get him on set, but don't get him upset. Or worse yet, don't get him upset on set. Okay. That's hilarious.
When I get upset on set, I'm brilliant. I always have to write down.
Oh, I've seen some moments where people got upset on set, and that's why sometimes I like this format better. Someone get upset with you, and you may be side by side on the screen, but you're not side by side in person, and that goes both ways. But evil doesn't rest, but our Heavenly Father does not rest either. And we need to pray for the peace of Israel, that God protects Israel. Pray that God saves America in spite of all the treachery from within. I am impressed how open this administration is about firing those who hate America. Obama didn't tell anybody when he fired all the Christian generals at the time, or the conservatives, and all the horrible things that Kenyan puppeteer did. Muslim Brotherhood shill. And, I could talk for years about that. But all that to say is I'm proud of our leadership and how they are very blatantly unashamed to take care of business, And it's interesting what happens, when the left has served the same medicine they've been serving. And all of a sudden it's unfair. So anyway, all that to say is, what is in the dark will be brought to the light. Everything hidden will be revealed. And a lot has been revealed. I don't see a lot of consequence of revelations here. More people need to be arrested. We still have the same career politicians who've never worked a job in their life, spending $200,000 on jets to go fight capitalism. How stupid is that? And then you have generals saying remarks that endanger the very people that they are sworn to serve. What a curious time this is, when men's hearts fail them. But there are brave hearts, and there are people with the heart of a lion. They're willing to put it all on the line to stand up for what is right. And we want to stand with those, our only ally in the Middle East. It would be very foolish not to. And we are fighting an enemy that has no problem lying to us until they're strong enough and numerous enough. Then you see the truth too. So God bless Israel, and God save America, and pray for Avi Lipkin and that he gets over here. Go to biblicalalliance.com, get behind the work, pray for Avi, buy a book, give a donation. It's good seed. It's good soil. And until next time, Avi, it's so good to see your face. Thank you for joining us today on the show. Because as goes Israel.
So goes the world.